Okay, we are live right now. I'm going to do a quick setup. I know it's about a minute to two, so hang in there if you've tuned in already. Okay, welcome to Penn's Den, our very first live episode that we're doing. And what we're going to talk about today is Game 2, do a brief recap of that, and what the Pens need to do in Game 3 to pull out the win. Just getting started into it, I want to thank everybody for your participation on Twitter, on my Penn's Den Twitter, Penn's Den on Facebook, both on the Facebook page and on the group. I want to thank everybody for that. Well, let's jump right into this. The first in game one was everything went right for the Penguins. Face off. I mean, it was just. I won't say face offs. Face offs were not that good, but they got to lose pucks. They cleared rebounds. Murray was sharp, and they just fired everything at Elliott, and they got the bounces. Quite simply, game two, not so much. Game two was exact opposite of game one. They were not ready for it. Philadelphia was. I have to give some credit to the Flyers. They jumped in there. They had a game plan. They executed it. And as Hackstall said after the game, they got some bounces, which they did. They did get some fortunate bounces. There were a couple of fluke goals. And to me, a lot of people complained about the refereeing of McCauley and Peel. Well, that did indeed left a lot to be desired. What are people's thoughts regarding? Yeah, we did better at faceoffs in game two, but lost. Go figure. That's exactly right. Thank you for joining, Chicken a la King. Um, that was crazy. And I want to focus right now on what happened with Chris Letang and being hit by Claude Giroux. I watched several replays of that. Giroux looked around. He knew he was there. That was just there's no call for that. And with the league handing down suspensions to Cadre and somebody from the Kings, and then they turned a blind eye to that. That was just it's more this. The league favors the Penguins. Well, if the league favors the Penguins, then they would have gotten no calls. I mean, that was just crazy. That was just crazy. And then the other thing in game two was the embellishment with Patrick Hornquist up against the boards. And I'm sorry, and I think one of the announcers actually said it pretty well. How can you How do you want to get embellished, plastering your own face up against the boards in the glass like that, and to try to hurt yourself? There was no embellishment there. It was a flat out hit. And even the announcers were talking about, oh well, yeah, that was frustrating. I agree. And, the announcers were talking about, oh, what's McCauley and Peel talking about? And even Pierre Maguire said, oh, that probably going to get ejected from the game. And no, Patrick Hornquist gets called for a penalty for embellishment. That just, granted, the Penguins did not bring their A game. It was more like a D plus game for game two. But I'll tell you what, McCauley and Peel did not help them out at all. And what they probably hit, I think I counted at least 4, maybe 5 posts that they hit that game. I mean, and Crosby on a breakaway didn't bury it. Crosby at the end of the first period whiffing it. And I think they were pressing too much. I think they were not relaxed. I think they were more uptight than Philadelphia was. That was a must-win game for the Flyers, and the Flyers came out. Yeah, we can't go for 4 on the power play and expect to win. You're right, Chicken a la King. And I think part of that problem on the power play was, Giroux hit Letang, and Letang wasn't quarterbacking the power play. Now, I know Schultz is just as good a quarterback on the power play, but for some reason they just didn't get it. I mean, Schultz wasn't, and they were putting on a passing clinic. And as I said on thank you, and as I said on Twitter, I said the time for passing clinics is during the regular season. When you're in the playoffs and you have a power play, shoot the bleeping puck. I mean, it was just, part of the thing with the Penguins is they look for the perfect shot all the time. You can't, in the playoffs, you can't do that. You have to throw pucks at the net. And look what happened in game 1. We threw pucks at the net like crazy, and we scored 7 goals. I mean, that was crazy. Yeah, Schultz played a lot. I don't think he can handle Letang minutes. You're right, Chicken a la King. I don't think he can either. He's not built like Letang is. Letang's a beast as far as being able to put time in regarding playing time. And there just wasn't, I mean, it was, you can tell the frustration was written all over the players' faces. Welcome Cat 777123, thank you for joining. That's my wife. It was just a frustrating game to watch. I mean, I had at the end of the first period, that goal, it just kind of dribbled in, and then the second and third periods were just total disasters. And I think Mike Sullivan said it best. We just need to reset, refocus, and have a better attitude coming into game 3. And I think that has been the Penguins' big problem this whole season is they have not had the correct attitude going into games. And, they go up, and I'll give an example. They go up to Detroit, and Detroit's hopelessly out of the playoffs, and it was just like they were going through the motions that day. And I hate to say it, if they don't come in with the right attitude, they get beat. And they need to come in with the right attitude today. And I'll say this, yeah, the last minute, opening minute goals against are backbreakers. They are. They absolutely are, Chicken a la King. I agree with you 100%. It's just crazy. You can't go in and expect to give up a goal at the last minute in opening minutes of games and win. And that's exactly what they did in game 2. That's what happened. And it was incredibly frustrating for all of them. And I agree. I think what the Penguins need to do for game 3 is they need to put more of game 1's. They need to relax, number 1. Number 2, they need to put an effort like game 1 in. They need to go after loose pucks. And that's one thing I think they did fantastic in game 1 was Murray did leave some rebounds, but there was a defenseman there all the time. I can't tell you how many times I saw Dumoulin or even Olimata or Schultz. They were jumping on loose pucks like crazy. And the forwards were helping on defense as well, too. I noticed several times Malkin was there, and I know he doesn't like to play a lot of defense, but he does. And there was back checking there. There was forward checking there in game 1. That's what they need to do. They need to get in, and they need to, just take it to them. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's not rocket science. If they do that, they'll win game 2. Excuse me for just a second. I'm getting over some bronchitis, so hang on just a sec. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. For game 2 today, they need to have an aggressive forecheck. They need to go after pucks in the corner. They need to throw everything they can at Elliott. I believe that was a fluke game for Elliott. I don't think he's a Vezina candidate. Got to exploit slow-footed defensemen like McDonald. Exactly. They do have a lot of their defense is not what I would call high caliber defense. They just they need to They need to go in there and they just need to get pucks at Elliott like crazy. He's not the type of goalie that's gonna have a back-to-back game like he had before. And I hate to say it, it's a must-win game. This is just something that the Penguins need to do. They need to come out with all guns blazing and not stop. Play for 60 minutes, and they'll win. And I think that's important. Lots of young, inexperienced kids on their blue line. That's exactly right, Chicken on the King. They don't have experience and depth on the blue line and for the Flyers. And I think that's part of their Achilles heel, and their goaltending is their Achilles heel. Their forwards are great. I mean, they have some fantastic forwards. And I think the other thing is this. I think they're going to try to get under the Penguins' skin today. And, as much as they need to turn the other cheek. I know Simmons will try it. I know Giroux will try it. You know, they'll get out there and they'll do their best to get under our skin. They're classic for it. And I think, that's the book on the Penguins, was to get under their skin. And especially with Chris Letang or Hornquist or Malkin, who have a tendency to take stupid penalties. Well, especially Malkin takes some stupid penalties. They can't do that this game. They got to stay focused. They got to skate away from stuff. And if they got to keep their legs moving. I mean, if they keep their legs moving, they're going to get calls. And if they can get their power play in sync and in gear, this is going to be more like a game one. They're going to dominate. Maybe not on the scoreboard, but in play, and hopefully on the scoreboard, not like 7-0. But they'll do better. They'll do much better if they do that. That I don't have any doubt. Murray, Mike Sullivan won't let us blow up like 2012. No, he won't. That was a Chicken Al King. That was a complete debacle. I mean. Say what you will about Disco Dan. I like him personally. I think he's a great guy, but things got out of hand with that. That was just a fiasco. I remember part of that blowing up that year was I had to fly out to Pittsburgh. My mom was in the hospital, and I remember watching from her hospital room. It was before the playoffs. It was that game where Tony Granato was yelling on the bench at Laviolette when Laviolette was still coaching the Flyers. I'll never forget that. That was crazy. Yeah, and I'm worried about officiating too, Chicken a la King. If you've looked on my Twitter account on I have pinned up there is Bettman whispering or Crosby, Bettman whispering to Crosby, I'll do all I can to make sure that you guys won't three-peat. And doggone it. I mean, granted, they did not play well on Friday night, but boy, oh boy, McCauley and Peel did them absolutely no favors. And if you look, Scouting the Refs, that's a good website. If you look at that, and historically speaking, you will see in there, our PK needs to rebound this game. It really does, Chicken a la King. I agree. They were flat out atrocious. They weren't chasing after loose pucks like they did in game one. They weren't being aggressive on the PK. They weren't clogging the lanes like they should. And, Murray was getting screened. And, that just does not lead to good things at all. I mean, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Yeah. I think they'll do it. I think it's a must game. You're not going to hear that from a lot of people, but I think it's a must game for them today. By the way, I'm wearing my Kessel jersey today, and this is my good mojo because I wore this back in 2016 when they won the Cup for every game, every playoff game. I wore this last year in 2017 when they won every game, when they won the Cup, every playoff game. So I'm doing it again this year. Yeah. That's I'm trying to get all the good mojo and juju that I can for them, and I think they'll do better today. I think you'll see a response from them. Mike Sullivan is not shy to being verbal with them, and I'm sure he flat out let them have it. and they deserved it after that game. I mean, in front of the home fans, and I can tell you, um, my wife and I went to Game 5 in 2016 against San Jose, and with a chance to win the cup at home, and they didn't. And that was probably one of the most disappointing losses I've ever attended. I mean, it was the only time in franchise history they had an opportunity to win the cup and raise the Stanley Cup at home in Pittsburgh, and they didn't. Yeah, especially at home. Yeah, you got to win those games at home. I mean, when they lost Game 2, that takes home ice advantage away. I mean, they have to go and get it back. And I think in order for them to do this and to close this out, they need to win Games 3 and 4, and then come back to Pittsburgh and just tighten the noose and say, that's it, Flyers. Go get your tee times ready. Go hit the golf course. And I expect more garbage from Giroux. I don't know if you saw Ben Stonium. They put out Giroux as a garbage can. I'm kind of thinking, yeah, that's just. Yeah, Giroux is a garbage can. That was just classic. I'm expecting a lot of garbage from them today. I'm expecting them. Hackstall's probably told them, we're at home. We'll get the crowd behind us. Hit them hard, agitate them, get them to take stupid penalties. And if we can stay away from stupid penalties today, and if our PK works today, yeah, can't take the bait. Absolutely cannot do that. They can't go out there, and people like Simmons who likes to do that stuff, and Giroux, they're gonna do that as well, and some of their agitators. I don't, we can't give them an inch, and it's not gonna be an easy game. When you go into Flyers, and what they love to say about Crosby, every time he touches the puck, they boo him, and it's just typical trash stuff from them. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, I'm very ready for this game. I think they'll do well. I think they'll respond. I think Mike Sullivan will make sure that they respond. And I've always jokingly said they should install an acetylene torch under the Penguins bench during the game to light a fire under them. And I also said during Game 1 out on Twitter was, if every player played with a passion, controlled passion, like Patrick Hornquist at times when he's controlled and has his passion, they would win 16 in a row. There would be no problems there. And I wish they would play like that at times. I wish they would have that fire in control. Glad they don't have a knuckle dragger like Ronaldo or Carcillo anymore. Yeah, that would just be a bloodbath. And well, unfortunately, we lost our knuckle dragger with Reeves leaving, and this is the time of year, and I know a lot of people. He was a fan favorite. I liked him personally. He didn't get the minutes he should. I think there was some conflict with he and Sullivan, but I think this is the time of year that you really miss Ryan Reeves, and I personally think yeah, we got Broussard, and yeah, he's coming around, and yeah, I think he'll be a good fit. But there's something to be said for having some muscle, and Ryan Reeves has some muscle, and Crosby said he felt safe with him out on the ice, and I agree, and that's something that they need to be aware of. I mean, Olesiak, yeah, he's okay. But he's not a Reeves. I mean, Olesiak, he won't shy away from people. I mean, he engaged Charo when we played Boston, so he's not shy to that kind of stuff. But he's no Ryan Reeves, and I think that's probably the Penguins' Achilles heel is having a tough guy out there. I mean, we got Olesiak, but I mean, after that, it's kind of like, who do we have that's going to do that kind of stuff? I'm looking for Brian Rust to have a good game. His record in the playoffs speaks for itself. I think he's going to have a good game today. I look for Phil Kessel to have a good game. I haven't really heard a whole lot from Phil these first two games. I'm expecting him. Yeah, Zach Aston-Reese is the biggest, but he's tough and dropped the gloves many times down on the farm. I still like Reeves too. Yeah. You're right, Chicken on the King. Zach Aston-Reese, he's not shy, and he'll take the hits. He'll give the hits. And this is his first playoffs, and he needs to be smart about stuff. And my thinking is, they're going to go after players like that and try to goad them into taking stupid penalties. And if they can keep themselves restrained, they'll have a good shot at winning today. I really think so. I really do. Zach Aston Reese. I mean, he's bright on the horizon for the Penguins. Can't say enough about that. Murray looked great in game one, but his rebound control could have been better. But as I said earlier, his rebounds, there was somebody on those pucks right away, whether it was Schultz or Letang or Dumoulin, or Mata, they were clearing those pucks away, and that was great. That didn't happen in game two, and that's what needs to happen this time around. There needs to be somebody in the right. They were out of position a lot in game two, and it showed. And they need to bring it to them. They need to just absolutely dial it up and just take it to them here in game two. I expect to win today. Was it going to be a close game? Yeah, I think it'll probably be a close game. But I think you're going to see them do well on the penalty kill today. I think you're going to see them do well on the power play. I think they'll score. They just need to pump pucks at Elliott. Elliott just, especially if you look at him on his left side, he's incredibly weak there, and that's where they need to fire pucks at. And you gotta have Hornquist in front of the net. You gotta have somebody there screening him, because if he sees it, even on his left side, he's gonna make the save. So we get somebody there in the crease, and Patrick Hornquist is one of my favorite players. He has his zeal. I'll call it this: his zeal for the game is incredible. He has absolute total passion for playing hockey, and I think it was an excellent move when JR signed him long term. Well, I think that's about it. That's about all I wanted to say. I think we'll do well. I'm predicting probably a 3-2 or 4-3 game. Got to forecheck and back check like fiends. Yeah, I agree, Chicken Ella King. They gotta have play two-way games, and I love Gino, but the thing about him that if he wants to be at the level of Crosby, he needs to also play some defense. Sidney Crosby is so underrated as a defensive player. And if Malkin wants to be like Crosby and be regarded as like Crosby, which he should be, he needs to improve his defensive game. He improves his defensive game, he's right up there with Crosby in my book. I mean, just absolutely no questions asked. They do that. If they forecheck and back check this game, they pump pucks at Elliott, they're gonna come out with a win. And I hope it doesn't go to overtime. I just excuse me. And I think that's about it for today. If you liked what you saw today, definitely tell others about it. Chicken Ola King, thank you for logging on and for your time. Hopefully we can get the word out and get more people to watch these. I may start doing post games as well too. Right now today, with the way my voice is, I think we're going to pass on doing a post game today. But yeah, if definitely Chicken Ola King, tell some of your Pens friends about this. And I'd like to do this on a regular basis, probably even a weekly basis during the season. I got some views on some of my videos, which is great, but I would really like to get some more subscribers and get some people on board with this. So thanks a lot, and let's go Pens. Take care.